Hi everyone, I'm Tanya, the VP of Marketing at PourMyBeer and Beverage. I want to thank you all for joining us for the webinar on how to increase serving efficiency and beverage sales with software technology. We have a fun and very informative webinar planned for you. We hope you will walk away with a stronger understanding of our software technology and the benefits it provides to both operators and customers. We will also dive a little deeper into our various brands and new products so you can learn which would be the best fit for your establishment. Now it's time to introduce two of my colleagues and also two of our speakers today. I'm based in Colorado, and today I'm lucky enough to host this event with two of my colleagues in person, Laurel and Ed, who will be our speakers. We're currently at Golden Mill in Golden, Colorado, enjoying some delicious local Colorado craft beer, kombucha, and I think Moscow Mule. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. Cheers to you guys.
Cheers, Laurel.
Amazing to have you in town here with me.
Thank you.
We'll be enjoying more of that later today too. But now, without further ado, let's dive into introducing you a little bit to my colleagues here. So Ed, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself and what made you true software expert?
Sure, yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And first of all, I just want to say again, I'm really excited to be here at Golden Mill. And Golden Mill actually is our customer with the highest sales volume. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from Jim and Susan later in this segment about how they operate. I know we're going to get a lot of great tips on efficiency, profitability. And yeah, as far as how I got into Self4, I've been with the company for about 6 years now. And I did have some hospitality experience back in the day. I'm a New Englander. I graduated college from University of Vermont, went down to Boston for my first professional job, I guess you'd say, and needed a little extra income, as most entry-level jobs require. So I did nights and weekends at a new gastropub called Brew Moon, and it was founded by the founders of Boston Market. So it was a really cool experience. I did serving, waiter, and also bartending. So that's how I first got into the hospitality. But I've been doing tech startups ever since, and joined PourMyBeer in 2016.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Ed. Laurel, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what made you to become a real software expert?
Yeah, I'm Laurel. I'm originally from Georgia and now live in Charleston, South Carolina. I've always had a big interest in the hospitality industry. In college, I worked at a bed and breakfast and always found myself trying new breweries and entertainment venues. After college, I pursued a career in sales and one day stumbled upon Self4 and knew pretty much right away that I wanted to help spread the Self4 revolution.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now, we have divided this webinar into 3 sections. So we're going to dive into our first section, which is what PourMyBeer is and how it works. Really simple over here. My first question is for Laurel, and that is, what is PourMyBeer?
Great question. So PourMyBeer is a self-pour beverage system that enables faster and more efficient access to beverages by allowing the customer to pour their own drink while charging by the ounce. So now we have 500 locations as of last month across 30 countries in a wide variety of establishments, from bars, casinos, restaurants, hotels. We now have grocery stores and even office spaces. So can fit in just about any environment that serves alcohol.
So thank you so much, Laurel. And my question to you is, how did PourMyBeer get started?
Yeah, so it all started, actually, here's a picture of our fearless founder, Josh Goodman. And it all started on a fateful day or evening, I guess, back in March of 2010. He was out with some friends before a Baltimore's Oriole game in Baltimore. They were out at a crowded bar, just getting a couple rounds of beers before the game, and they got one round, I believe it was, and were waiting and never were able to get the second round because there was just a couple of bartenders in the back there trying to get drinks out to guests that were stacked 4, 5, 6 people deep. And obviously, not fun. They just couldn't do it. And he, I think most people just left or would have just left, but Josh being Josh said, there's got to be a better way. And then I think a light bulb went off. He says, what if we let guests serve themselves? Wouldn't that be faster? And so fast forward, I think a few months later, he quits his corporate job and embarks on the lifetime adventure of being a tech entrepreneur. And long story short, 12 years later, here we are.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you,
happy
Josh.
to report, yes, that it all worked out great. And as Laurel mentioned, 500 customers later, countries are now the leading provider of self-pour. So yeah, nice job, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
Laurel, my next question is to you. What can be dispensed through PourMyBeer technology?
Yeah, so as you can see on the wall behind me and on the screen in front of you, there's a wide variety of beverages. We've got beer, wine, seltzers, kombucha, and even cocktails on tap now, which are very popular. So we like to say we're liquid agnostic, so really anything that's a liquid you can pour through our system.
Thank you, Laurel. Ed, can you tell us a little bit more about how do customers use PourMyBeer?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is actually my favorite customer because I love using it myself. And it's a very fun and simple process for customers. And just to walk through the workflow really quickly, as a customer, you would walk in, go to the check-in desk, present your ID and a credit card, and the staff will check your ID and then open up a tab for you on their point-of-sale system, link one of our RFID cards to that tab and hand it to you. Now you're free to walk up to the tap wall, place your RFID card on a card reader below any of the screens. When you do that, it activates the taps below that screen, and then you're free to pour as much or as little as you want. And as you do so, you can look up on the screen and see in both ounces and dollars exactly how much you're pouring. And we're the only system that shows both, by the way. And it just makes it a really awesome experience for guests because they don't have to wait. They have the freedom to walk around and try whatever they want. So it becomes like this tasting adventure. One of our owners coined this term that I love. He said it's like experiential magic. Like guests become like kids in a candy store. They just walk around trying things. They're pouring a little bit of this, a little bit of that. If they like it, they pour more. If they don't, they just move on. So it really eliminates that whole problem of walking into a crowded establishment. You're kind of looking up at the chalkboard trying to decide what you want to order. The bartender's waiting for you. You definitely can't ask for a sample, and you just end up picking what you recognize. So as an example, I personally discovered I love sours, and I never knew that. I never would have in a million years known that if I wasn't hanging out at one of our customer locations and
Where
just
was
said,
that?
I'm just going to try a little. It was actually at Buffalo Wild Wings in Minneapolis.
Okay.
When we did the grand opening. Yeah, yep. So ever since then, it's been a love affair with sours.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
Now we talked about the customer side of things. Laurel, could you tell us a little bit more about operators? How do operators use PourMyBeer?
Absolutely. So most of our PourMyBeer operators are using the system to alleviate stress from the decreasing labor pool we're all seeing today, but also to enjoy the benefits of increased profit margins. So we're seeing profit margins increase with self-pour from a variety of factors. First of all, being about 20% less staff is required with self-pour, so operators are spending less on labor. Secondly, a traditional bar has an average of 23% waste, and with self-pour, we're seeing about 3% waste. So operators are saving a ton of inventory. And on top of all of that, all of our self-pour locations that have switched from a traditional bar to self-pour have seen an average of 40% increase in beverage sales, just from customers not having to wait in line anymore and having the ability to sample a lot more, as Ed mentioned. The other thing that operators are really enjoying is our feedback system on the back that we offer. So they're able to see on the back end multiple things, such as when a keg's about to kick, what beverage is most popular at your location, how much of each product you've sold. For example, we've had a few customers that have started with 20 beers and 4 wines, and then eventually switched to 16 beers and 8 wines because they noticed the wines were a lot more popular than they were expecting. So it really provides a lot of valuable feedback on the back end for the operator.
Great, thank you. So my last question of this section go to you, Ed. Can you tell us a little bit more about what is the size of the PourMyBeer team? What is the size of the company? And what our future holds?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, when I started 6 years ago, it was just a handful of us, a small handful at that. And now we're up to about 30 team members based all over the country. So there's most likely a PourMyBeer team member somewhere near you. And we're scaling up fast. We're adding to the support team, to the install team. We really pride ourselves on offering best-in-class service and support. We have a support team now of 7, and once again, they are based all over the country, so in different time zones, so that they're always available. And yeah, we're really excited to keep the growth going.
Exciting, great, perfect. So before we wrap up this question, what is PourMyBeer and how does it work? We're gonna do an audience Q&A. We have 2 questions here that my team has passed me. So my first question will be from Gabby, and that's going to be for you, Ed. Gabby asked, is there a limit to how much a customer can pour? Can you answer that question?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. Yes, there is, and to comply with most or all state liquor laws, the system has to limit each guest to 2 servings at a time, and that is just to prompt a human interaction with the staff member to get eyes on that guest, to make sure they're okay to serve more, and if they are, the staff can reactivate them for another 2. And our system is the only system that's programmed to do it by servings rather than just strictly by ounces. And as an example, if you have, let's say, a low ABV beverage on tap number 1, like Coors Light, you can make that beverage size 16 ounces. And then if on the next tap number 2, you have a wine, you can make that serving size 6 ounces. And so on down the line of the taps of 20, 30, 40, however many you have. And then our system fractionally calculates, even though people aren't pouring a full glass at a time, it's calculating, and it knows when you get to 2 official liquor board servings, it triggers that responsibility limit. You get a nice message on the screen, that says, see a friendly staff member, and then a staff member with a staff card, reactivate that customer card for another 2 at any of the screens above the taps, or back at the check-in station, and it just continues like that until either the guest decides to leave or a staff member decides maybe they've had too much. So
yep, definitely. Perfect, thank you, Ed. Mm-hmm. One more question from the audience before I let you 2 take a break and invite our guest speakers on. So hopefully you can tackle this one, Laurel. Diana asked, how is PourMyBeer technology different from other technologies out there?
Yeah, so PourMyBeer, we definitely pride ourselves on being the most reliable and well-engineered system on the market. As you can see behind us, we don't just have tablets on the wall, we have industrial-grade, purpose-built screens that are built for this specific purpose, and that's how all of our equipment was designed. And we do pride ourselves in saying that we are the only system on the market that has never been replaced, so we think that speaks volumes. And we've also had about 20 customers from competitors come to our website and ask for help and ask for their system to be replaced with ours because of just all the problems they were having with the system going down quite a bit. And we've been able to help them, and their locations are running a lot more smoothly now. So I definitely say reliability and engineering are the things that really separate us. And in addition to that, we, like you guys have mentioned before, we have an amazing support team that's there around the clock for
shout out to them.
Operators. Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Laurel. Thank you so much, Ed. It's time to give you a little break. If you need refill on that Moscow Mule, on that beer, I'll have you please guys stand up, stretch your legs a little bit, and I'll invite our 2 guest speakers over here. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll have them back. No worries. You don't have to cry about it. They'll be back for the 3rd section, but we're going to dive into second question. And I'm going to bring in Susan Ganter. Hopefully he's coming over here. Yeah, Susan Ganter, who is one of the owners here at the Golden Mill, where we are at right now, enjoying some kombucha for me. I don't know if Susan is drinking something. I think she forgot her drink, so she'll be thinking of us later. And I also have Jim Wright over here, Director of Operations at Stanley Beer Hall, which is also near over here in Aurora, Colorado. And he also is an operations and technology consultant and in Malcolm Yards in Minneapolis, a great venue if you guys are ever there. So without further ado, Susan, can you please share a little bit about yourself and your background and what brought you to Golden Mill?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I've worked in and out of the hospitality industry over the years, and I wasn't going to say this, but I have to bring it up. My first job out of college was working for the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. And it's been that long since we were in the Stanley Cup, so I can say, go Avs. So in any event, I've been in hospitality, been in event planning, and fast forward, years ago, the Golden Mill, this building became sale, and it was at the feed store in town, and we used to get our dog food here, and it's a very important, really a historical building to the people of Golden. And we didn't want to see this building get torn down and turned into a condo, because if you were here, you could see the amazing views, and we're right on the creek. And so on a whim, we bought it and didn't know what we were going to do with it, but knew it just said community gathering place. So we went about starting to do our research, and came across our friends at the Stanley Beer Hall, and saw the self-pour wall, and we thought, well, that's brilliant. That's not anything like Golden has. So that's how we got to this point.
Thank you, Susan, so much for sharing that. I'm so excited to have you here with us today. Thank you for taking the time. Same for Jim. Jim, can you share a little bit about your background? And also, you do operate multiple venues with self-pour setup. So I just wanted to hear quickly how you even came about self-pour. What brought you to this area, and you just opening more and more spots with self-pour technology. So you're clearly on the roll.
Well, we like being on the cutting edge.
Okay.
So, it's always great in the hospitality industry to have something that's very different.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people go through. There's a lot of options out here, and self-pour is something that brings people in. It's kind of self-marketing. I've had the good fortune of being involved with a lot of big operations, a lot of large format operations around Colorado, and now thanks to PourMyBeer and self-pour around the country, and all the operations down at Denver Art Museum and the Denver Union Station, such like that. So I've been very lucky to be involved with great projects, including Golden Mill. Through all that, I ended up at Stanley Beer Hall, and how I ended up in the self-pour world was they needed a different way to deliver, a faster way to deliver drinks to their guests who were not very pleased with the way things were going before. And this is what I came across, self-pour, brought it in so that people could get a drink faster than 30 minutes when they came inside the Stanley Beer Hall, which was a big problem over there with the neighborhood. A lot of families, and they have kids, and kids are on a time limit. When the sugar runs out, drinking runs out. So it was good for us to bring it in, because guests could come in instead of sitting at a traditional table and waiting for at the beer hall, unfortunately, about 30 minutes, because everybody came in at once. They could walk in, have a drink within a couple of minutes, and all of a sudden the clock stopped ticking, the kids could run around, everybody's happy, and the adults got to have a couple more drinks while the kids burned their sugar out. So that turned out to be a business-saving move over there, and it's turned into these other associations with great places like Golden Mill and stuff like that. So I made it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So this starts our section 2. That's about benefits of self-pour technology and benefits of PourMyBeer. My first question to our speakers is here that we had their slides about the venues, and if you're interested to hear more about them, definitely read up on our blog post. We'll share those below the recording, so you can read up more on Golden Mill and Stanley Beer Hall, fantastic venues, and visit them if you're in Colorado. But my first question here, I'm going to start with Susan, and that is, what benefits do operators see utilizing PourMyBeer technology?
Well, certainly the efficiency. It's so turnkey, and it's so easy to implement. And I would say too, the novelty factor, as Jim mentioned, like that self-marketing thing, that is huge. I mean, people absolutely love coming here. Our guests do. They love coming here. They love bringing their friends. And the thing that we've really found that's unique, I think, to the self-pour system, it creates this sense of community, because you have people now who have been here a few times, or maybe kind of consider themselves the experts. And so when they see somebody struggling with how does this work, they walk right up to there and they say, hey, let me help you out there. Let me show you how this is done. And then conversations get started, and people really walk away feeling good about their experience here. So to me, that's a huge benefit. The other thing I would say too is the environmental factor. I mean, we're not wasting wine bottles. We're not wasting beer bottles. When we make our cocktails, they come in the big handles. I mean, it helps, particularly in that area too. And that's something that here at the Golden Mill that's very important to us. So we really appreciate that as well, that PourMyBeer allows us to be more environmentally efficient
and I think
effective.
And the consumers care about that more these days.
Our consumers do care about that. Yes, it's very important to them. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Susan. That same question goes for you, Jim. So what do you think, as an operator, what do you see as the biggest benefit of self-pour technology?
Well, I would parrot everything that Susan said. We see all of those benefits at all the places I'm involved with. It's great. Mm-hmm. In addition to being environmentally conscious, one of the big benefits to that from an operator is things like wine. You don't have corked wine because you get your wine in a keg if you're going to serve wine on it. So you actually get to pour all of the wine that comes in. It doesn't get spoiled, so you're not throwing out product at the end. A lot of the other issues are cost controls on the other side. If you have a factor where you can set in exactly what you're going to get per ounce. People are paying for tasters. You don't have bartenders giving away free drinks and such like that. And you're able to get more of the liquid out of a keg. So we see almost 90% of the beer that we purchase out of each keg get poured and paid for. And the national average, say, is 78%. Okay. So that's a big benefit. So just that 12% gain right there, that's bottom line money. So there's a lot of benefits. So staffing is easier because it doesn't take as many people to run it. So we have other operations where, in a bar that would take 4 people, we have 1 to do the same thing. So there's a lot of other benefits.
Great, thank you. You're kind of jumping ahead, so my next question will be to you, and I'll start with you since you're already asking it a little bit. I do want to ask about current staffing crisis. If you feel like the self-pour setup in those multiple venues you're operating, if that brings any benefit to current environment when it's hard to really find the people, keep them around.
Yeah, it's it's really challenging right now. We were just at the National Restaurant Show. Virtually everybody that walked up to us said the biggest thing that we're concerned about is we need to go become more automated so that we don't have to hire as many people. So at Malcolm Yards in Minneapolis, we have a traditional bar and self-pour, and the traditional bar takes 4 people to staff. The self-pour takes 1, and 60% of the sales come out of the self-pour wall. So it's really a big benefit. And one of the other things that's great is that instead of hiring skilled bartenders, you can actually hire. It takes a couple of days to train somebody on how to use the system. You're really hiring more for personality and people that can interact with your guests and people who are big fans of beer, and that can just talk to the guests, and they get to spend more time actually talking to the guests. They're out with the guests versus behind the bar, but not having to hire mixologists to run your whole bar is really great. It's a better social scene.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Jim. The case study or the case that Jim mentioned, it's Malcolm Yards. We actually have a case study region. So if you do scan that QR code that you see on the screen in front of you, you can read up a little bit more about their inefficiencies of the traditional bar versus the efficiencies of their beverage wall. I want to ask Susan the exact same question because everybody always has a little different answer. So Susan, how does PourMyBeer help you during the current staffing crisis? What do you see that your staff think of having the beverage wall?
Well, obviously what Jim said, rings true here for us as well. But I think probably one of the things I found to be really, really neat is that our employees, they have fun here. They really enjoy it. And they love the technology, and they love sharing that with the customers. They love talking about the newest, greatest beers because we're always rotating. We're always on a rotating tap. And then that, in turn, they go out and talk to their friends, or their friends come in to visit them, and their friends start saying, well, that looks cool. I want to work here, too. So we've been able to do that. We've actually been able to hire a lot of friends of friends type of thing. And, we still have quite a few of our original employees here that have, we've been open for a little over a year now, and that's saying something during, the staffing crisis that we're in. So I think that's been a really neat thing to watch, those relationships develop. And it's still, you're still, the locals are coming in to see their favorite beer wall ambassador, just like they would come in and see their favorite bartender.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
thank you, Susan.
I'd say staff really loves it. Like we have at the beer hall, we've had self-tap for 4.5 years. We have employees that have been there since we changed over. They love it. So
that's great.
It's great.
So my next question here for Jim and Susan is, how does PourMyBeer help increasing beverage sales? Who want to tackle it first? Want to fight over it?
Mine's a more simple answer because Jim already did, hit a lot on the statistics, which is informational. But I think one of the things that's been really interesting as well is because you only get charged by the ounce, we find people sampling all the time here. People are constantly going up and trying a little bit of this, trying a little of that. And our beer wall ambassadors encourage people to do that. They mix, they try different things, margarita with a kombucha, for example. And we're not giving away a taste. The bartender's not saying, here, do you like this wine? Try it, then I'll pour you a full glass. So we're able to really capture every ounce, and we're able to charge for that. And people love it. They love it because they don't have to buy a full beer if they don't like it. They can go back and try something different until they find the right one that they like. So we find that really has just the interest factor and the fun factor really, also people tell their friends about it and just brings more people in the building. So
Fantastic. Thank you, Susan. Jim, same question for you. What do you see as how does PourMyBeer help increase beverage sales at Stanley Beer Hall, Malcolm Yards?
Well, I'll go back to the self-marketing aspect. It brings in more people, so that obviously increases sales tremendously. It's amazing to me to see how many people drag people in. They're like, you need to see this, and they want to show them because it's this new cool tech, and they want to show it off to their friends. So they bring people in, so that increases sales. Also, back to the Stanley Beer Hall example, when people couldn't get a drink for the first 30 minutes, that's 30 minutes that they're not spending money. So now they're coming in, and even if they're not really drinking more, they're happier, which makes them come back more. Mm-hmm. So what we see is, because we rotate our beers a lot, just like you guys do here at the Golden Mill, the beer nerds, they will come in for a specific beer, especially if they're following us on things like Untapped and stuff like that. So it pops up, the banner pops up, and they'll come in and they'll try a beer. So beer nerds get to come in and try something from, luckily in Colorado, we have all these great microbreweries, so we have a local draw that we have a great selection of local beers, but they'll come in and they'll taste their way down the wall instead of driving all over town to go to all these places. So it becomes kind of essential. So all of that appeal really adds to the revenue line. Also being able to get a drink within 2 or 3 minutes of the time that you come in. You only have 90 minutes before your kids explode, your favorite thing. You get an extra cocktail with it. So it's just great all over that.
Yeah, and if you needed extra reason to visit Colorado, as you mentioned, we do have a lot of great craft breweries over here, and plus Golden Mill is here, Stanley Beer Hall is closed as well, so it might be time to plan your next trip to Colorado, just saying. All right, my last question to you, my guest speakers, is going to be, what are the benefits of software technology versus that? Whoever wants to tackle the question first. Sorry, you want to give words, Jim?
Well, I'll give you some nerdy numbers. So again, back to Malcolm Yards, the staffing level. So Malcolm Yards, we have 4 bartenders working behind the bar to do 40% of the revenue, and 1 person working at the beer wall to do 60% of the alcohol revenue. So since we opened on July 29th last year, Malcolm Yards has done 523,000 cocktails. 138,000 of those are from behind the bar. It took 4 bartenders to make 138,000 cocktails. It took 1 bartender to do 384,000 cocktails.
Wow.
Which are self-pour. So think about that. Not 1 bartender for all 384, but 1 at a time.
Yeah.
So and like here at the Golden Mill, just last week they did 18,555 pours. Good numbers for you to know. And 146,000 ounces of beer, cocktails last week. That's in a week. Can't do that with 1 or 2 people in a traditional bar.
That would be a lot of traditional bartenders.
Yeah.
And very busy and sweaty.
Yeah, so Malcolm Yards has done 2.6 billion ounces in July, 1 person's. So there's some real numbers.
I did not hear these numbers before during the practice sessions. I'm trying to keep my job. But thank you for sharing that. That's great. That definitely.
Yeah, it's amazing, the number, and drawing people in to help with that. That's the bottom line.
And Jim, you also have, just adding one more side question on the top of it. You do have that experience of actually being part of Stanley Beer Hall when they had the traditional bar versus now the self-pour setup. So you obviously saw that big difference. Can you just quickly tell the audience a little bit more about that experience?
Yeah, so at Stanley Beer Hall, the big problem was that everybody showed up at once. You have 40 tops walk in and go, hey, do you have a table for us? So one, that's not your typical restaurant experience. But so the bar couldn't get all the drinks out, and we're a 400-seat restaurant when the patio's open. And the bar just can't handle that. Mm-hmm. So, the frustration of having your appetizer show up in 20 or 30 minutes, which also took too long. And then your cocktails coming after that was just a horrible experience. Now people walk in, they check in, takes 30, 45 seconds to check in. They walk 50 feet, have a glass, walk another 20 feet, have a drink, and then all of that frustration's gone. So that's the big difference. So we actually tore out the bar, the big self-tap wall, right where the bar was, so people knew where to go. So the same location, just know people and care of themselves. And it's fun. And it's amazing to me that we have so many new people come in still every day, 4.5 years later, that we're still showing how to do it. So we still have people standing there training them every day. So yeah, it's great.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. So Jim shared the perspective of a restaurant on this. Susan, do you have any other take for a food hall where, obviously people like to go to different kiosks for their food? How does really the self-pour technology helps versus having a
Well, I would say, the throughput. I mean, we are about a 600 people restaurant, and in the summertime, we hit that capacity all the time. Mm-hmm. And so, again, to Jim's point, no one's waiting around for a drink. Mm-hmm. I mean, the longest you have to do is maybe move out of the way so they can grab a glass.
Yeah.
So that's been great. People love that. And then the other thing that's nice, we all like to get our drinks before we get our food. Thanks. So now you can go get a drink and then go get your. So the food halls, model really works for this type of thing, especially because you're already in a kind of self-service environment and mentality going in there. People understand that that's kind of the way it is. So yeah, I mean, we can get people in. I mean, you can come and check in, and within 10 seconds you've got a drink. That's pretty impressive.
One of the added benefits of all this is because you're coming in and you're kind of around your neighbors and such like that. It changes the experience from a traditional restaurant where you walk in, you get planted at your table, and you're just sitting there waiting for somebody to take care of you. You're up, all your neighbors are there. There's a great social aspect right in front of the beer wall, self-tap wall. Still called the beer wall. So we started with just
beer wall is okay.
Style. So
I'm a little biased. I like that beer wall.
So
but it's beverage.
It's mostly a beer wall. So anyway, but it's really fun to see everybody interacting because the neighborhood comes in and they don't see their neighbors. They may not talk to each other out in the front yard, but when they're standing in front of the beer wall, again, they're talking to each other. So it's the social aspect and the different experience from going to a traditional restaurant is really fun.
Fantastic. Just wanted to quickly clarify because I don't think we mentioned how many taps does each of your venues have. So your restaurant has 2 different beverage walls, right?
Yeah, so we have 37 inside, which is our original. It did so well, we decided to build one out on our patio where we have another 14. So we have 51 taps.
Okay, 51 taps. Susan, can you share with you?
So we have 56 taps, and right behind us is our largest pour wall, which is on our main floor, and that's about 40. And then we also we have a rooftop deck here, and so we put another smaller self-pour tap wall up there, which has been really great because people, if you have your rooftop seat, you don't want to go far, to get your margarita or to get your beer. And the other thing too, we have a sushi bar up top, so our tap wall actually complements a little bit more of that patio, sushi kind of vibe. So we've got sake on tap, and a lot of our white wines and stuff. So
wonderful.
So yeah, so it's different upstairs than it is down here, which also brings people up and down a lot too.
Do you think it helps with the traffic a little bit with the
traffic?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Same for you, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love going to the sushi bar and getting sake on the self-tap wall, and that also helps increase sales because you might have a beer and it's like, oh, I want to have some sake with my sushi. So yeah, it's great. It's good sake.
Perfect. I have a question here from the chat that I think will be applicable for both of your venues. So I'll just ask for both of you guys. Do you plan to test any other types of beverages on your self-pour taps? And which ones are your best sellers? Whoever wants to start. Yeah, Susan, what's your best seller?
Well, that's the easy one, margarita.
Okay, margarita.
Margarita.
Okay.
So yeah, we have tried different ones. We're actually getting ready to put upstairs pour wall. We have done Bloody Marys before for those Saturdays, football games in the fall. Yeah, so we've definitely have been
testing things out.
testing different things out, and it generally always works quite well. You have to play with the recipe a little bit, but yeah, we found a lot of success. There's seasonal cocktails. Right now we have a blackberry smash on tap for the summer.
It's delicious.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah. So we do that a lot too. We'll switch around and do seasonal type cocktails and then holidays.
Before I pass that same question to Jim, any experience with non-alcoholic beverages? We've been hearing that more.
Yes,
and more.
We do have a non-alcoholic beer on tap called Groovy. It's local here in Colorado. We had a difficult time actually finding supplier that would actually keg non-alcoholic beer. So this local company came to us and we worked with them, and then they started kegging their non-alcoholic beer, and it's been a huge success. It's one of our permanent taps.
Perfect.
Yeah, and we don't have many, so that's a really big deal to have a permanent tap here.
Wonderful. And I am also enjoying your kombucha.
The kombucha is great as well.
It's delicious.
And it's a non-alcoholic kombucha, but for those that like to have their hard kombucha, we have sparkling wine and even margaritas, as I mentioned before. There's always a way to make it hard if you want.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Jim, that same question for you. First of all, what's your best seller?
Margaritas. Period. I mean, it has been since day one.
What's up with margarita in Colorado?
Southwest.
Okay.
So
What's
up with the rest of the country? Hot margaritas.
Probably, yeah.
No, it's a big seller. It's one of our permanent options. We always have glasses with pre-salted rims sitting right in between the ice machine and the margarita wall. We have 9 wines. Right now we have 4 cocktail taps. We're adding 2 more, so we're going to expand our cocktail selection coming up. Bloody Marys we've done for years now. On the weekends, we're going to make that part of our permanent, and then have a couple more rotating items. We also have a non-alcoholic beer as well, and kombucha. We do the sparkling wine on the weekends, so we have these little carafes that somebody wants to have mimosa or bellinis, we'll just give that to them as part of it. And then with our Bloody Mary, we actually have called the Bloody Mary meal. You can order it. It's a little side plate of like a spicy chicken finger and some bacon and stuff like that to go along with it that you can buy inside. So there's a lot of fun things that you can do outside of the normal beer walls.
Great. Thank you so much. And then we have another question here from the audience that I again think will be applicable to both of you. The audience is asking, what's your favorite feature of the PourMyBeer system? Everybody obviously has a different one. I don't know if you have peg level or if you use happy hour, hours of operation, if you shut at specific time. But what would that be for you? What would be your favorite feature as an operator that you find really helpful?
Well, in our world, the interface that we have with our POS for us, because it's all unified. That makes it very simple. And PourMyBeer, because of the way PourMyBeer helped us do that interface, it just makes it so easy to program or not program the system for the Untap. On the actually at the tablets, I think my favorite feature is the ability to reset the kegs quickly and easily at the beer wall. You don't have to run to the back office or anything like that. It's just everything's just very simple. I really like the way the screens are laid out, kind of in an intuitive manner. So there's not a lot of training.
Great, thank you. Susan, what would that be for you?
Well, I'll talk about the front side, Jim talked about the back side, but one thing I think is great is our tablets. It's actually a marketing tool. So we can put, like, if it's St. Patty's Day, or if it's like we have the Avalanche logo on the back right now. It kind of reminds people, like, oh yeah, there's an Avalanche game. I should stick around and stay and watch. So for different events and stuff like that, you can program those screens to also kind of have a background message. A great marketing tool.
Yeah, that's very true. And yeah. I mean, we're a little biased here. All 3 of us are based in Colorado, so yeah, let's go Avs. And I do have to admit that in Golden Mill, I've been seeing that background consistently changing. And it's really nice to see it Christmassy, to see it kind of align with Easter, whatever is really going on.
So, yeah, we have an upcoming event we want to highlight. Great marketing tool.
Fantastic. Jim, Susan, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. Stick around if you want to have a drink with PourMyBeer team. We'll be here for a while. I'll have Ed and Laurel come back over here. Thank you so much for answering your question.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you. I'll have Ed and Laurel join me back again for the third, and that's the last section of our today's webinar. So I'm going to kick out the third section over here. It's in and out. We ready over here?
Ready,
yeah?
Ready.
Awesome. All right. So it's going to be in and out of PourMyBeer system. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And my first question is pretty loaded here for Ed, and that is, what different products do we offer, and also what are our product setup?
Yes. So on this slide, what I'd like to do is walk us through as simply as possible here what we have going on. It's exciting times at PourMyBeer. We're launching several new things. So looking at this slide, you can see up at the top, Beverage. So we're launching a new brand. Beverage, and we just launched a new website found at PourMyBeverage.com, so please check it out. And under that, we've got 3 types of systems that roll up into 2 categories. So we have customer-facing systems, which we've obviously been doing for years, and now we've got staff-facing systems. And you can see that by starting on the left-hand side here of the slide. This is our new cocktail machine, Pour My Cocktail, and this is for staff to be able to get drinks out to tables faster, and we'll get into that in a minute. And then in the center, we've got PourMyBeer, which we've just been talking about, our tap wall pour business. And now we also have PourMySoda, and this is a non-alcoholic soda dispense system, and we developed this for Coca-Cola Euro-Asian Venture Partners. I got that right. Yes, it's a mouthful.
But yeah, it is a mouthful. Yeah.
But we're happy to have them. They're actually financial backers and partners of ours, and I'll get into the details of that on the next few slides. We've got a few
we'll
slides
start
here,
it for my cocktail.
Perfect.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more.
Thank you. So Pour My Cocktail, we launched this year. We actually launched it at the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago last month. And this is a patented cocktail machine. It's awesome. And it is designed, once again, for staff, not for customers. And it enables your wait staff serving tables to get drinks out to tables faster. So the drink orders would go in as they normally do to the POS. But instead of printing a ticket for a bartender, it's going to go into the cocktail machine, and the cocktail machine makes a drink in seconds, and the staff can grab it and take it out to the table. So it eliminates waiting for drinks. It can be programmed with hundreds of drink recipes. We can program it for you, and then we'll teach you how to update it and program more drinks. So it makes your recipe exactly the same every time in seconds. So that's a huge benefit. You get consistency of product. It's the same exact drink every time. You get speed, of course, and accuracy. So it helps in all of those ways to increase your efficiency and profit. And then the patented part of it is really cool. So all cocktail machines on the market today have a bit of a hygiene problem, the dispense head, where the ingredients come out. Once a drink pours, there's syrups, there's juices, things like that just sit on that drink head, and it starts to mold, and it becomes a health problem, and the health department does not like that at all. So what we've developed is a patented cleaning head, and it's a device that pulls out of the drip tray, and you can attach it to the dispense head. It washes the dispense head with hot water, and the whole thing takes about a minute. And then it's clean. So you can do this, multiple times a day. You can do it at the beginning of every shift. And in that way, it sets us apart from all the other machines on the market. And if you want to find out more about it, I believe you can scan that QR code, and it'll bring you right to the page on Pour My Beverage.
Yeah.
Find out more. And we're actually taking pre-orders, I should say, now for this machine. You can put a deposit down. We're doing a limited amount of these machines this year. As we scale up and get them into full production by the end of the year. So.
Awesome. Let's hop into the next product. That was for my cocktail. Next product.
Next product we have is
Pour My Soda.
Thank you. PourMySoda. And this, as I mentioned, was developed for Coca-Cola Euro-Asian Venture Partners in Europe, and we're actually rolling this out right now in Europe. And just some background, in Europe right now, I believe they're requiring quick serve type restaurants to stop selling soda in plastic bottles. So this is a way to solve that problem. So at a quick serve restaurant, the workflow is a customer walks up to the window, places their food order, places their drink order all on one ticket, gets a receipt, and that receipt has a QR code printed at the bottom. That they can then walk up to the soda machine, scan it, and pour their soda.
Fantastic.
And I believe you saw it in action when you were there, right? Where's that picture?
Yeah, that one is in Los Palmitos. It's in Gran Canaria. And I definitely have to encourage you to, if you're a soda person and soda fan, trying the system in action. It's really fast, no lines, no staff needed. So it's a perfect solution for bigger entertainment parks, water parks. Really comes down into high volume venue where you, for example, have a different stations and you don't want to have staff members in many of those beverage stations around your establishment.
And that reminds me on the cocktail machine. I forgot to mention, sorry, that that obviously it's ideal for high volume locations also, like casinos.
Comes down to the same for my soda.
Yeah.
But enough about Pour My Soda. The webinar is about PourMyBeer, so let's hop into the PourMyBeer and talk a little bit more about
There we go.
our
Okay,
soda.
right in the wheelhouse now. Thank you. Yeah. This we now have, though, what I would like to mention is 2 types of systems for our tap wall system. And the one in this photograph here is what we're all familiar with. It's what's behind us now, the tap wall system. And it's enabling guests, obviously, to sample. You usually have 20, 30, 40, 60 taps. And you have a walk-in cooler behind that with all the keg storage. Mm-hmm. So it's a construction project, and there's a walk-in cooler behind. And you would typically do this when you're building a new site or doing a renovation. Yeah, so this is our brand new product that we launched at the beginning of this year. These are our self-pour stations, and these are made by our friends and partners at Micromatic. So it's a really excellent system. It's so well built. I can't say enough about it. And I guess I'll just start at the top and kind of describe it. So as you can see in this photograph, it's a kegerator-based system. And you can put these in essentially anywhere and immediately start offering sort of an elevated drink service of draft beverages. You can do beers, wines, cocktails, anything that you could do at a tap wall, you can do at a self-pour station. And actually this photograph here is at a Top City Golf, I believe. It's a driving range, actually a Top Tracer range in Kansas. Mm-hmm. So they, as you can see, they just dropped that in, and now guests can pour as they hit some golf balls.
Who would you say the solution is perfect for?
Yeah, it's really perfect for places like that where you wouldn't normally offer beverage service. You don't want to do a construction project. And like I said, you can literally drop them in anywhere. So they're actually really great for select service hotels. Mm-hmm. So hotels that don't have a restaurant, bar, but they do want to offer beverages. Mm-hmm. So we're actually just completing a agreement now with Hilton, and we're rolling these out for a lot of their select service hotels.
And there's already a few Hampton Inns and Hilton properties in the market there. So if you're willing to travel to fun places, reach out to PourMyBeer at cheers@pourmybeer.com. We can give you some great hotel recommendations with self-pour.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that place. That was a blast when we stayed there for the National Restaurant Show.
Yeah, specifically that was Hampton Inn in Chicago.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. And what I want to talk about here on this slide is the 3 options that we have available. So it comes in 3 sizes. Starting from left to right, we've got a 4-tap system, a 6-tap system, and an 8-tap system. And I also want to point out some of the real differences and really fantastic engineering that Micromatic did on these units. So first of all, the column where the screens are mounted and where the taps are, that's liquid cooled. So that guarantees that you're not going to get a foamy beer pour after the system's been sitting for, let's say, a couple hours without being used. It keeps the beer in the line as well as in the kegerator at a really nice 38 degrees. So it's nice and cold, so the beer is not going to pour foamy. And they're also built at ADA height. So that's where the maximum reach height is 48 inches or below. So they actually specially built these kegerators just for us. So it's the only place you can get these units that are ADA compliant. Any other unit on the market is not going to be ADA compliant, and that's an important note. And also the liquid cooling those are 2 very important differences that really set this system apart. And another awesome thing about them is they literally ship out in a crate. They get delivered to you. You uncrate it. I've done one myself, and it easily just rolls off the crate with Laurel. We did that, and you just plug it in, literally plug it in. There is some networking you would do in advance, and our team will walk you through that over the phone. And then you would have a local draft installer come by and set up the kegs, set up the gas. You can have both nitrogen and CO2, so you can do wines on this, as well as cocktails, beer, everything. So it can be set up very easily, very quickly. Like I said, no construction, not much advanced planning. Just drop it in and start making some money on it.
Plug and play within a day.
Yep, exactly.
Super quick, Ed, can you just go through the setups of a regular fixed wall? We do have that as the next slide over here, and we do get asked that question a lot. Can you go through that?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So with our system, it's totally flexible in the number of taps you can have per screen. So you can do anywhere from 1 to 4 taps per screen, as you see here. Most of our customers do 2 taps per screen. That's my personal favorite, and some like 3 as well. But we have all of these options available. So, really just depends what the aesthetic is you're going for and how much wall space you have.
My next question is for Laurel. Laurel, can you tell us how long does the installation of PourMyBeer system take?
Yeah, so it takes about 10 to 12 weeks from the time that you put down your deposit to the time of installation. As for the actual installation, it takes about 1 to 2 days typically to install our equipment, depending on the number of taps. Some of our smaller projects with 10 taps have taken less than a day to install, and some of our larger projects with 100 taps have taken 2 days and sometimes 3 to install. So it's very dependent on the number of taps.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Is PourMyBeer able to connect up to other key systems in the
Yes, and we actually have the most integration system on the market. We are integrated right now to 6 point-of-sale systems and 1 other system, which is Untapped. And Untapped is an awesome beer lovers social media app, and they also have the largest beer database in the world. And our system does a great job. As soon as you create your tap list in Untapped, it pulls in all the tasting notes, logos, everything, and you can put it right to the screen. So you don't have to type any of that in yourself. So it makes it really easy to manage your system, and it's a great way to promote your system too, because anyone in a 20-mile radius that has your is following you and has the app, they'll get an alert every time you put a new beer on. Beverage.
Perfect. Thank you so much. If you want to learn more about our integration capabilities, just go ahead and scan that QR code that you see on your slide, and you can learn more about our integration. What is the warranty of PourMyBeer? Tell us a bit more about that.
So we have a 3-year full replacement warranty on all PourMyBeer manufactured parts, and then a 6-month warranty on all the flow meters. Fun fact, actually, we were the first ones on the market to offer a 3-year warranty on all of our equipment. Previously, all of the other competitors were offering 1 year. So we definitely take pride in the fact that we were the first to offer that for our customers.
Perfect. And my last question for Ed today, what is the return on investment of the self-pour system? Return on investment, also referred to as ROI. Can you tell us a little bit more about some experience that you've seen in the field?
Yes, yeah, great question that I always love to answer because it's really a tremendous return on investment. Most all of our customers report they make their investment back within 6 months to a year. And actually on this slide, I believe we have a nice quote from one of our customers. This is Greg Lamacki, who owns District Brew Yards in Chicago. And it's a really cool co-op of 4 breweries under one roof. And he sells about 70 kegs a week with a very limited staff. And he, says he could absolutely, positively never do that in a traditional bar environment. So he's already opening his next location and has many more planned, and we have a lot of customers like that.
And we even have that one customer of yours, right? Pizza Factory that has
Yes. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's the slide. Yeah. So my customer James, it's a really interesting story. He owns 2 pizza factories across town from each other in Reno, Nevada, and one of them has 12 taps behind the counter for staff to serve the guests, and the other one has 12 of our system taps for self-pour. He said, yeah, it's a funny thing. I asked him how it was going, and he said, yeah, at my store that has your system, my sales are twice what they are at the store where the taps are behind. I have the same beers on tap and everything. And then it got even more interesting when he said, but I buy the same amount of beer every month for each location. So that means the location with the traditional pour, they're wasting basically half the inventory due to spillage or what have you. So
wonderful.
Yeah, he was really blown away by that.
Those are some great results.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed and Laurel. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge about PourMyBeer and PourMyBeverage. I also want to say thank you over there again to Jim and Susan. And if you have any questions, just scan this QR code and fill out the form. We are having a free consultation. So if you want to speak to Ed or Laurel later and you want to specifically have questions related to your establishment, feel free to just scan that QR code and schedule a pre-consultation with us. There are also other team members that might be in your area, so feel free to hop into there. We also are hosting another webinar in August that is going to be on a wine topic, so I do want to everybody encourage to hop on to that webinar with us as well. Again, you can scan this QR code, lots of QR codes today. You can scan this to join us. We're going to be talking to our partners from Free Flow Wine, but also 3 of our operators that are utilizing self-serve wine and are seeing huge success with that. So this is happening in August 2nd. We would love to see you for that and have you join. We are really, really grateful that you were able to join us today. We will answer the rest of the questions that you have through the Q&A and also through the chat on our Q&A page, and we will share those with you next week, just as well as we will do for the recording. Thank you so much for joining me, Ed and Laurel. Thank you also, Jim and Susan, and cheers to you guys. Let's grab some more more drinks, and you guys all have a wonderful day. We'll look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Bye.